Hello there. Well, as you can hear and see, it's all bird song and no wind today because the bloody stuff has finally stopped. And the weather's actually pretty nice. It's cold, but it's pretty nice. No rain, no wind, just lots of birds. Just how I like it. Hello there. Welcome to a new Colganology with me, Stephen Colgan, and Harris the pug when he catches me up. Yesterday we had Storm Henk, and this is the view from my office window. You can see how fast the clouds are scudding across the sky here. It was a magnificent sunset, but the high winds also brought down a lot of trees. One of my daughters lives about 7 or 8 miles away, and one of her neighbours was filming the trees moving around outside the houses when this happened. Yeah, talk about a lucky escape. Thankfully no one got hurt, no cars were damaged, no property was damaged, but that was a big old redwood to come down. And I wonder whether you can claim on the insurance for things like that, or is that considered an act of God? Talking of which, over the Christmas period someone asked me if I was a Christian, and I had to answer and say no. I might have been born into a Christian country in the 1960s, but my family never went to church. My mum and dad weren't really believers, and I never got brought up in that tradition. And as a result, I said I found my own way. And I don't follow any religion. I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in any gods or any higher beings or any higher force or anything like that. I suppose the label people would put on me is a pagan. Unfortunately, pagans got sort of weird associations these days. People assume that you must be a druid or a witch but you know, they are still people who follow particular paths. I don't follow any particular path really. I mean, I suppose I'm closer to druidry than anything else, in that I believe that the earth is something special. We should have a relationship with it and not be divorced from it, and we should be protecting all the living things around us, which is very much at the heart of druidry, and indeed Wicca and some other forms of witchcraft. But no, I'm a pagan in the true sense, because when the Romans first arrived in this country, that was the label they gave the Brits, because it comes from the Latin paganus, which just basically means rural or rustic or simple folk, because they thought we were unsophisticated because we didn't believe in all of their Roman gods, or indeed the Romans who had become Christians by then. So yeah, that's all it means really. It just means someone who doesn't follow the prevailing religion. You full of the joys of spring, are you? You're full of beans, I know that. Of course, in later years, pagan became to be associated with other words like heretic, which were people who actively fought against the church. And of course, a lot of people who clung to the old religions were labelled as witches and demonised as a result. Particularly a lot of women who did folk cures and medicines using the readily available medicines in the hedgerows around them, because, you know, according to the Christian religion anyway, God decides who lives and dies. God decides who's ill. It's all God's will. So if you supplant that, if you do something against God's will by curing someone, then you must of necessity be against God, aka you're in league with the devil. It's just the way they maintain power. It's been interesting in the last couple of years to note a shift in people's perception about the old ways and pagan ways of living. I mean, for example, one of the fastest growing religions in the UK at the moment is Wicca, you know, which is a sort of modern recreation of witchcraft. It's a little bit fanciful. It was created basically in the 1930s, but at its heart is a really good idea, something known as the Wiccan Rede, which is do what you want, believe what you want, love who you want, but just don't harm anyone or anything. It's a really nice, sensible message, and there's no rules. There's no one says you have to dress in a certain way, or you can only eat certain foods, or you have to go to a certain building to worship. It's all very free, and it's all incredibly connected to the land and the seasons, which is really, really important. And Druidry follows a similar path, because it's all about reverence for nature and reverence for our ancestors, learning from the past to inform the future. And I'm really behind that idea, because there's no indoctrination, there's nothing that says you have to be this way. And indeed, I have to say, most of my friends who do declare having a faith tend to be either witches or druids. It just so happens. And a lot of them are also scientists, and a lot of them are also, very sensible, realistic people. And, some of them have got the idea about energy and spirit and magic and that sort of thing. And that's fine. If that's what you choose to believe, that's absolutely fine. I don't. And a great many other people who are pagans also don't believe in these things. But there's a science that underpins a lot of paganism. The pagan calendar, known as the Wheel of the Year, is based around 8 Sabbats, 8 major cardinal points on the calendar. But they're all based on science, because it starts with a kind of north, south, east, west cross. And those points are based on the equinoxes and on the solstices, which are astronomical events. Nothing to do with human activity whatsoever. And then the 4 quarter days, as they call them, that lie between those 4 points, they're dictated by changes of the season. So, it's things like Easter and harvest. And it's, again, it's sort of a point in time in the calendar when people are thinking to themselves, oh, I've got things to do now, I better start laying up for the winter, or I need to bring the harvest in, or I need to start doing this, I need to start doing that. It's all very logical, all very scientific, and it links humans with the planet. It links people with the seasons, which is phenomenally important. It has been really, really interesting to watch how folklore and folk events and community type events like that have actually really come to the fore in the last year or so. I've seen a lot more younger people getting engaged with things like Morris dancing and folk events. And Ben Edge has produced, he's an artist, marvellous artist. He's produced a really, really good film called Frontline Folklore. You'll find the link in the description below here. Do have a look at it. It's a couple of hours, but it's marvellous. It's him visiting lots of different folk events all over the country and talking to some of the participants and why they do it. It's so, so good. Reconnecting with the land and reconnecting with nature. And I think that's really important, because it wasn't until the Romans arrived in Britain, bringing first of all their own pagan religions and then Christianity, that we changed. Because up to that point, all the religions in Britain, if you could call them religions, were all very much earth-based. They were all based on the countryside, the seasons, the gods of the sky, the land, the sea. And what we had imposed on us is a religion that has no relationship to the land whatsoever. It's a religion that was born out of deserts, and I think people have had enough of that. People want to reconnect with their country. They want to reconnect with Britain. They want to see this beautiful, wonderful, varied landscape and its wildlife preserved. And it just so happens that the best unifying force to bring all those people together is paganism. And I, for one, am 100% behind them. And of course, as you may well know, the last British census a couple of years ago, for the first time ever in the history of the census, recorded Britain as a secular country. More than 50% of people said they have no religion or faith whatsoever, which is really, really interesting, because people always try and portray us as a Christian country, and a lot of the laws and a lot of the things we have in place in this country, such as when we have bank holidays and when we have certain religious holidays, and things like the fact that we don't have assisted death at this time, that someone can't choose to die, is all down to religion. And yet more than 50% of people are not religious. So maybe it's time to review some of those things. And certainly one of the big growth areas has been Wicca, shamanism, druidry, and all those sorts of things. So interesting, isn't it? I think people are actually trying to get closer to the land, and I think the green movement and the whole climate change things, another agenda that's linked in closely with people having reverence for the land. And I think that's drawn a lot of younger people away from politics and organised religion, which have let them down. Well, that's how they see it anyway. And they're turning back to the old ways. Fascinating, isn't it? I might have been ahead of the curve on this. I've actually been out here on a bit of a waxwing hunt today, because the waxwing is not a common bird in these parts, and people are getting quite excited about it. The local social media groups, the Facebook groups keep going, oh, 20 waxwings seen in the fields outside the school, or just seen across this road, or just such and such, such and such. And they were heading this way towards the fields. So as it happens, I had to wait till now anyway to come out for a walk. So I've been over walking around, and I've had my bird app running, because even if I didn't see them, I thought I might hear them, but been nothing, sadly. It's funny, I know exactly what a waxwing looks like. They're a beautiful, beautiful bird, but I've never seen one in real life. It would have been nice, but as the sun's just about to go down, I think I've probably missed it for today. So I should probably have to say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video. Toodle pip.